Hi, it's hard investing on your own, isn't it? Well, imagine you are in a vast hall, hundreds of thousands of people, maybe millions, where everyone is shouting at you at once. What are they shouting? Why, they are giving you advice about the market, where it's going, what they think about the economy, or interest rates, or this stock, or the other stock, what to buy, what to sell, and why. They all have opinions and tips and advice. How much do they charge for it? Most charge nothing. A few charge something, but not many. They really want your eyeballs, your attention, to sell to others who'll sell you ads. Or perhaps they want to give you false opinions about the market so that they can make money at your expense. But at least you are no longer on your own. Now you have thousands of free advisors. So what's the problem? To start with, you don't know whose advice is good, whose is only 50-50, and which is 100% wrong, and worse, tendentious, that is treasonous. Now, what's this parable about? It's, of course, about the internet and TV and the press. All give you investment advice or advice, all of them together and in a loud voice, ostensibly for free. Ostensibly. What to do? One way, of course, is to plug your eyes and ears to it. But before you do, let me tell you, not all this free advice and occasional information is bad. Some of it is kind of okay, and some is even outstanding. But of course, most of it is junk and useless, and worse, treasonably wrong, so that you can lose money while they can make it. So should you perhaps ignore it all? Well, what if you knew how to pick who is worth listening to and who isn't? This would be good. But to do it how? Luckily, there's a way with two parts, which I have been using for many years. The first is passive, the second is active. Both are necessary as a prelude to sleuthing. The first, the passive way, is choosing worthwhile sources based on 5 criteria to narrow down the number of those you'll track and pay attention to. What are these 5 criteria? I told you before, it's taken from the world of intelligence, military intelligence, to see which informers to trust. First, the advisor or informer must be an expert in the field, not amateur. Second, he or she must be close to the action, physically close if possible. Third, he or she must have a demonstrably good track record. Fourth, he or she must be certain of this advice too. And fifth and most critical, he or she is not a liar or a traitor. Anytime you have a piece of information or a forecast, or hear an opinion or a sleuth fact, rank it by these 5 military intelligence filters. Over time, fairly fast, you'll get a list of those worth following from all the cacophony in the market and who are not. My guess is the list will be less than 50. Not bad, but even this list is too long. How to narrow it? Here you can follow Charlie Munger's advice, Warren Buffett's partner, on how to succeed in life and in investing. His method has 2 parts. First, do more of what works. And second, stop working of what doesn't. It's all in my book, by the way, The Advanced Sleuth Investor, but I slightly modified, like this. Do more of what works for you and stop doing what doesn't work for you. Not for everyone in general, for you in particular. But how to find out what advice works for you after you narrow down the list? You simply track members of this narrower list to see who had been right and who was wrong. In practice, not just in theory. In my book, again, The Advanced Sleuth Investor, Chapter 7, I show how an Indian immigrant to America became the best watch salesman in New York City using this Charlie Munger method. He copied the behavior of other salesmen blindly, kept what worked for him, and discarded the method that didn't. His magic component? He took notes, copious notes. This rising watch salesman, without any experience in selling, just as many of you have no experience in investing, tracked what kind of other things other salesmen did and copied it. And the result of it. Then, over time, the accumulation of little things that worked for him alone, made him into a star salesman. But that's only half of it. The other half, what contributed even more to his success, was noting which behavior he copied did not work for him, and then he avoided doing this, no matter how tempting it was. Something like Jim Cramer's advice about stocks or Paul Krugman about the economy, they never worked. Same with this young salesman who tried to learn selling from others. He copied more of what worked for him and didn't do what didn't. And over time, he became not just a star, but a superstar. And so can you. But how to do that in practice? Again, it's simple. Follow Charlie Munger's rule on a daily basis. I've been doing this for many years to improve my stock market game, and I recommend that you do it too. Here is how. I have a Microsoft document file in which I track all I do in the market and why I did each thing, what I bought, what I sold, and all my inputs, every day religiously, about a page a day, sometimes half a page. Like what? Like my buys and sells, my thought and decision that led me to them, debate with myself and with others, or new pieces of information or advice I got, or why I thought a CEO was lying to me, but also tips from customers of the company that was sleuthing, ideas that occurred to me, ideas from other portfolio managers I know, industry experts, new industry data, or anything I think may add value that is reported on an ongoing basis. I rank all these sources and inputs on the above 5 military intelligence filters: expertise, closeness to the action, track record, certainty, and honesty. But how do I find out what sources or info works for me? Again, it's simple. Nothing is complicated. Once in a while, I go back over my file and see what made sense, that is made me money, and what didn't, that is lost me money. And once a month, I go over the most recent. Every 3 to 6 months, I go further back, and once a year or two, I look very far back. And as I go over the pages, this is key. I mark in green highlighter what worked well for me. What is still unsure, I mark in orange, and I also mark what didn't work, which I highlight in purple. So over time, as I live through the copybook and through the document file back, it becomes quite clear what I should do more of, all the green stuff, and what none of, the purple stuff. This ongoing note-taking and reviewing eventually brings up all sorts of insight, even uncomfortable ones. And this accumulates and over time improves market performance. Like what kind of instance? For example, again, as I told you before, I shouldn't do options, even if I feel that this time it would work for me. It almost never does. Or insider buying and selling. Insider selling is not meaningful, but buying often is. Sometimes more so, sometimes less. It's more meaningful when the buying is done in clusters by several insiders, especially ongoing corporate buyers by the company itself to shrink its number of shares is very meaningful, like those done by Illumin, ILM-T, a Toronto stock I told you about, which I believe is just beginning its upward climb. However, not all insiders are the same. Oddly enough, CEOs are often 50-50, surprisingly, because I think they often buy to motivate the troops. CFOs are usually better indicators, but not all. Some are better than others. How to see which one is good, which one is bad? Simply look at this executive track record and click on the name and look at all the time he or she had bought or sold before and whether he had made money or lost it. If he was good before, it's more likely he'll be good again. I have a database that let me click on it. But don't just listen to me. Develop your own tracking method and pay attention to what or who worked for you and ignore those who didn't work for you. So is that it? No. It's only the first part of the method. You can't buy or sell blindly based on the stock names that fit opinions or data that have worked for you before. No. In my experience, the biggest factor in picking multibaggers, which is what I look for, is doing actual physical work myself. In my tracking files, the information I dug out myself is always underlined. This underline is what I'm looking for. It causes the rarest element in investing, conviction. It's like getting married. You can't choose your life mate via a broker's bridal tip sheet with an audited doctor's report about his or her health. No, you have to activate all your 5 senses, yours, to get the conviction that he or she is the right spouse for you. It's physical. It's the same with stocks. To get conviction about a stock, You must get up and close and personal to the target, physically so. One of the best mining investors in Canada I know of bought a uranium stocks a few years back. He was a true sleuth investor. He knew everything about the company. He knew the ore body because he had walked all over it, every square foot of it. He knew management because he had met them dozens of times. He, of course, knew the finances, but he also knew the auditor personally, as well as the employees, with whom he gossiped frequently over beers. In sum, he knew the company on a physical level. After he bought, the stock rose from 1 to 5, a five-bagger, but then in the great financial crisis in 08 or 09, it fell back to 75 cents or 85 cents. Did my friend sell? No, he bought more while others sold. Why did they sell? Because they had no conviction. They only knew the company from brokers' reports and internet chart. In other words, they only knew the company as blips on the screen. Why did he buy more? Because he knew the company and its people on a physical level. It's a different thing altogether. So he had conviction, while the stay before the screen investors didn't. Where's the stock today? In the high 20s, another five-bagger on top of the first five. So how can all the above help you? It can if you do four things. First, promise to give up laziness that sees investing as an internet-based activity. Second, rank all your decision inputs and data on 5 criteria and narrow the list down. Third, track all those advisors, informers, and data sources over time to see who comes at best. Fourth, and most important, find out what stocks these top informers would lead you to and sleuth the hell out of these stocks. Buy the best ones after sleuthing them. Fifth and last, once every 3-6 months, then once a year or more, track what had worked for you and what didn't. Color it appropriately. Green for what works, purple for what didn't. Then do more of the green and stop doing the purple, just like Charlie Munger method recommends. Then you too can start finding multibaggers. And yes, Illumin, ILLM-T in Toronto is still a potential multibagger in my opinion. Although I could of course be wrong. Or am I? Well, go sleuth the company yourself to find out. That's all for today. Please let me know in the comment below what you think of the above, and if you like it, subscribe to the channel and forward it to all your subscribers and friends so they subscribe too, and buy my books, The Sleuth Investor, The Advanced Sleuth Investor, and if you like them, give them a review on Amazon, which I hope will be a good one. I'll see you next time, and meantime, thank you very much for watching.